The Interstellar Coalition's frontier station Varric 7 was not built for comfort. It was built for function: gray corridors, recycled air that smelled faintly of metal, and fluorescent panels that hummed just slightly too loud to ignore. 312 species called it home on any given rotation, and most of them had learned, quickly, to stay in their lanes. Humans were new here. Embarrassingly, painfully new. Ethan Cross knew this better than most. As a cadet fresh from Earth's accelerated integration program, he had exactly 4 months of xenocultural briefings, 2 weeks of on-site orientation, and approximately zero idea what he was doing. He was 23 years old, 5'11", and operating entirely on confidence he had not yet earned. He was also, by every measurable metric, having the time of his life. The mess hall on level 9 was where the real social ecosystem of Varric 7 played out. Ration dispensers lined the far wall. Tables were arranged in clusters based on atmospheric preference, high oxygen sections, methane-rich corners, standard mixed zones in the middle. Ethan always ate in the mixed zone. Not because he was required to. Because it was interesting. He noticed her on his 3rd week. She sat alone at the far end of the mixed zone, occupying twice the bench space of anyone around her. Kale Rivera, he'd later learn her name, was Voron, a species that the briefings had described in 3 words: large, territorial, proud. She stood nearly 7 feet when upright. Her build was dense with muscle beneath short, tawny fur marked with darker stripes across her shoulders and jaw. Her ears, long, feline, expressive, were currently pinned flat against her skull, which the briefings had noted was the Voron equivalent of "do not approach." Every other species in the mess hall had internalized this signal. Ethan grabbed his tray, walked over, and sat directly across from her. She looked up. Her amber eyes, vertical pupils, faintly luminescent, fixed on him with an expression that roughly translated to "Are you malfunctioning?" "Is this seat taken?" he asked. "It is now," she said. Her standard was precise, clipped, accented at the consonants. "Against my preference." "Noted." He started eating. "I'm Ethan." She stared at him for a long moment. "I did not ask." "I know. I'm volunteering it. It's a human thing, we introduce ourselves even when people don't want us to. Especially then, actually." Another silence. Then, slowly, her ears lifted just a fraction. "Kaelra," she said. The word came out like a warning. "Nice to meet you, Kaelra." He came back the next day. And the day after that. By the end of the 1st week, Kaelra had stopped giving him the flat-eared warning signal. She hadn't started welcoming him, exactly, but she had started facing slightly toward him when he sat down, which, according to the body language module he quickly pulled up at 0201 Sleepless Night, was significant. He began talking to her the way he talked to everyone, freely, with too many tangents, with a tendency to gesture when he ran out of words. He told her about Earth. About his hometown, about rain, about the strange particular smell of a city after a thunderstorm. She listened with an expression of rigid neutrality that he was beginning to suspect was actually intense focus. "Your species is strange," she said one afternoon, when he had finished a story about getting spectacularly lost in a mountain range at age 16 and deciding it was fun rather than terrifying. "Deeply," he agreed. "You should not have survived that situation." "And yet." She studied him. "You are aware of the danger and choose to engage with it anyway. That's kind of our whole thing, yeah." Her ears did a complicated movement he couldn't interpret yet. "Vorons call that Kethveral." "What's it mean?" "Approximately, the madness that creates." "It is not an insult. Among my people, it is said of great warriors. Engineers. Those who remake the world." She paused. "I did not expect to apply it to a human cadet who got lost on a mountain for sport." Ethan grinned. "I'll take it." He was, in truth, not entirely sure when he had stopped flirting for fun and started actually meaning it. It had begun as a joke, a private one, held only in his own head. The Beastwoman who scared everyone else on the station, and Ethan Cross who apparently had no functional self-preservation instinct, going out of his way to talk to her every day. It made his bunkmates laugh nervously. It made his supervisor raise an eyebrow. It made him feel, in the specific way that only mildly reckless choices could, alive. But somewhere in the 5th week, things had shifted. He'd been running a solo equipment check in the station's outer ring when a pressure seal failed, not catastrophically, but enough. Alarms. A rush of cold. Ethan had sealed his emergency suit in under 15 seconds, muscle memory taking over before his brain caught up with the situation, and had then spent 40 minutes manually stabilizing the corridor junction while waiting for the repair team. When he finally made it back to the mess hall, late, suit scuffs still on his arms, Kayla was still there. She looked at him. Her eyes moved over the scuffs, the slight tremble in his hands that adrenaline come down always left behind, the way he exhaled just a little too slowly when he sat down. "What happened?" she said. Not a question. A demand. He told her. She was quiet for a long time. "Then, you stabilized the junction alone." Repair team was 12 minutes out. Couldn't just let it go. Voron protocol in that scenario is to withdraw to a safe distance and await support. Yeah, human protocol is, he paused, considered. Honestly, I'm not sure we have a protocol. We kind of just act. Kayla looked at him with something he had not seen on her face before. It took him a moment to identify it, because it was layered, something fierce and something careful living in the same expression. "Categorize," she said quietly. And it didn't sound like she was describing warriors or engineers anymore. It sounded like she was describing him, specifically. The thing nobody in the xenocultural briefings had told Ethan about Vorons, the thing that apparently wasn't in any of the standard materials, was that their respect was not given. It was conquered. Not through combat, not through rank, but through the quiet accumulation of witnessed moments. Consistency. Presence. The willingness to sit down across from someone who had every signal turned to go away and say "I'm staying anyway." He learned this from Kayla herself, weeks later, when she finally explained why she had started turning toward him at the table. "You did not perform," she said. "Other species perform for Vorons. They make themselves smaller, or they make themselves larger. They try to be what they imagine we want." Her ears tilted. "You were simply yourself. Continuously. Without revision." "I mean," Ethan said, "I wasn't trying to make a philosophical statement. I just liked talking to you." "I know." She paused. "That is the point." 3 months after he had first sat across from her against all apparent wisdom, Kel Rivera said something that stopped him mid-sentence. They were in the observation deck, a rare off-rotation evening, the station's slow rotation bringing the arm of a distant nebula into view, violet and gold against the dark. He had been talking. She had been listening. Normal. Then. Among Vorons, there is a tradition. When one warrior chooses to stand with another, not out of obligation, not out of hierarchy, but out of election, they speak a word. Her voice was deliberate. Careful in a way he'd learned meant she was saying something that cost her something. The word is Vethera. It means, I place myself between you and what comes. Ethan was quiet. I am telling you this, she continued, eyes fixed on the nebula, because I have found myself calculating distances between you and dangers before I have consciously decided to. In the outer ring incident, I was halfway to the corridor before the repair team dispatched. A pause. I do not do this for others. He looked at her. The nebula lit the side of her face gold. Kayla. Yes. I think I've been meaning it for a while too. Her ears, those long, expressive, complicated ears, moved in a way he had never seen before. Slowly upright. Fully open. Undefended. She didn't smile. Vorens didn't smile. But something in her jaw softened, and her eyes, when they turned to his, held something warm and certain and entirely new. Cathveral, she said, for the third time. But this time it was a different kind of naming. The kind that means, I see exactly what you are. And I am not leaving. Outside the viewport, the nebula burned on in silence, indifferent and ancient, while two people from two entirely different worlds quietly decided that the distance between them was no longer worth maintaining.